out fate, the mortals are making a mess of their lives. With our loom, order can be restored.
Today we're going to be talking about the hit show Legends of Tomorrow, but more specifically we're going to be looking at some of the Easter eggs and small moments you might have missed. If you're interested in seeing what some of these might be, stay tuned. Before we jump into anything too exciting, make sure you subscribe to our channel to see future videos like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications or else you'll miss out on something good. So let's get into it. First, let's have a bit of a recap on Legends of Tomorrow. If you're into all that save the day heroic sort of stuff, then you've almost definitely seen Legends of Tomorrow. And if you haven't seen it, then you totally should. It's a great feel-good watch and not to mention totally hilarious. A quick word of warning, everything after this point is major spoiler zone. If you don't want any spoilers for any of the seasons, then click out now because this video contains a lot. So you've been warned. Okay, moving on. Legends of Tomorrow follows the plot of Rib Hunter, a time traveler on a mission to prevent an apocalyptic plan to destroy the Earth. To do so, he assembles a team of valiant and brave superheroes to assist him, and the crew work together to save the day, every day. Sounds pretty simple, right? Well, try again. Throw in some reanimated historical figures, a lot of time travel, and some aliens in the next season, and it can get a little complicated. Considering what a whirlwind the show can be, there are probably a few things most of us have missed the first time watching it. So let's take a look at some of the Easter eggs and moments you might have missed. First of all, the show is super self-referential. While you don't necessarily need to have watched The Flash or Arrow to understand and keep up with Legends of Tomorrow, it might be worth a go. Being part of the Arrowverse means Legends of Tomorrow references the other shows a lot, so there might be a few comments or jokes that go over your head if you've not watched it. The other shows in this universe are equally as good as Legends of Tomorrow, especially if you watch some of the seasons alongside each other. We definitely recommend giving them a watch. This leads us to number 2. If you've not seen the other shows, it might have gone over your head about who Bravta was. Bravta was first introduced to us through Arrow, and we didn't expect him to show up in Legends at all. He did though in episode 4 of season 1 of Legends of Tomorrow. After the Legends were caught in a gulag in Moscow, Bravta showed up to ironically rescue the superheroes. He wasn't in for too long though and just paid a one-off visit. Number 3. Zari partakes in Ramadan during all of the craziness on the show. Things can get pretty intense and crazy in the Legends universe, but the crew have to draw a line between work and home somewhere, right? While Zari was introduced to us a bit later in the season, we fell in love with her character just as easily as the others. Some of her screen time includes her briefly explaining Ramadan and why it's important to her. It was just a small scene, but it was nice to see a bit of the softer side to the show that brought some more inclusivity and realism to an otherwise action-packed plot. Number 4. Sarah is taken from Al Capone's bar. This Easter egg is pretty cool, you have to admit. Obviously, in a show centered around time travel, the Legends will end up in some pretty cool places from time to time. Well, one of these places is none other than Al Capone's bar when they end up in 1920 Chicago. In the show, Capone ended up joining the Legion of Doom and surprisingly was one of the least scary members. This leads to Sarah Lance ending up in his own bar right the way back in the 1920s, where she is ultimately taken alongside Stein. Now on to number 5. Casa is infused with her totem. Both Zeri and Amaya wear their totems around their necks so they're able to easily channel power from it. I'm sure you've noticed Kuesa doesn't do this. Well, Kuesa is the granddaughter of Amaya and actually perished during battle. While we originally see her as a villain, Kuesa has some character redemption when she comes back to life. She returns to a better person after Maya changes the timeline and is brought back by Nora Dark. As this happens, the water totem is infused into her, so the totem is removed. Pretty cool, right? Number 6. John Constantine and Supergirl are obviously linked. Being a superhero and saving the world almost all day every day doesn't mean you're not entitled to private life. In fact, many of the Legends and supporting characters have active love lives, and Sarah Lance is no different. We're sure you might have guessed by now that she's the link between John Constantine and Supergirl. She met Alex Danvers during the crisis on Earth X, and the two had a bit of a rendezvous. She then called on Constantine and spent some time with him. Number 7. Ray Palmer is actually a real person. In the Arrowverse, Ray is a bit of a tech geek and doubles as the Atom in his exosuit. However, the same name of his character is actually inspired by a real person and isn't just a nerdy sounding name. The name is actually inspired by Raymond A. Palmer, an editor who specialized in science fiction and wrote various science fiction stories under pseudonyms. Particularly, he wrote about flying saucers and the paranormal, so it seemed fitting to name one of the Arrowverse characters after him in homage. Number 8. The Legends attend a book fair in a way when visiting Paris. Season 4 shows us the Legends winding up in a salon in Paris during the 1920s, where they are looking for a Minotaur. Wandering through 1927, the Legends actually receive help from the infamous Ernest Hemingway and run across a bunch of other famed authors, including F. Scott Fitzgerald, Zelda Fitzgerald, and Jane Austen. This isn't the first time they met an iconic author though. Season 2 saw them meet Lord of the Rings creator J.R.R. Tolkien. I wonder if any of them asked for an autograph. Maybe not, I would. Now on to number 9, a biting Jaws reference. In one episode, Sarah ends up knocking out a substantial number of legends. This prompted Mick Rory to announce, "We're gonna need a bigger med bay." If you thought you recognized the line, you're right. It's derived from the iconic line said by Sheriff Brody, "We're gonna need a bigger boat," in the 1975's cult classic Jaws. Number 10. It's actually been 5 years since Jefferson last saw everyone. At one point, a pretty scary arm of pirates, Vikings, and Romans is organized to fight for Malice. This leaves the Legends desperately in search of help, and they end up asking Jonah Hex, Helena Troy, Ava Sharp, and Jefferson Jackson. It's a pretty action-filled and intense plot point, so it might have gotten lost to you when Jefferson claims it's been 5 years since he saw everyone as he shows the Legends a picture of his child. On to number 11. Rip Hunter might stray away from good in the future. Well, that's just an assumption. While he does some questionable things at times, he's overall one of the good guys. That's why it was such a shock when during the crossover, The Invasion, Rip receives a voicemail from the evil Barry Allen. The message comes from the future, 2056 to be exact, and Allen is asking Rip not to trust anyone. While we don't know which version of Rip this is, we're patiently waiting to see what happens. Any theories, guys? Number 12. Obama pretty much gives Sarah therapy. In Season 3, Episode 7, the Legends need to save President Barack Obama from Grodd to stop an aberration from occurring. This was pretty essential because the powerful demon Malice could only be contained if the timeline was preserved. Talk about pressure! In the episode, Obama has to have his memory wiped after the Legends save his life in the 80s before he becomes President of the United States of America. Sarah then took advantage and asked him for guidance on what to do about Malice. Now on to number 13. Ava Sharp is a time aberration. This isn't necessarily something you would have missed, but it might be something that you forgot. Upon first being introduced to Ava Sharp, she seems almost robotic. Well, there's a reason for that. Season 3 brings us the episode I, Ava, that tells us Ava is a clone and that Rip Hunter had wiped her memories, forbidding her from accessing any further information on it. The Legends eventually figure all of this out, though, and help her regain these memories, letting her reconcile with her past. Last but not least, number 14. This one is kind of adorable. Jay Palmer and Nora Dark are a total sweetheart couple. While Nora is pretty dark and ruthless, Palmer has no problem seeing the good in people, and she's no exception. But it's just in the Arrowverse that the two are smitten. The stars that play them, Brandon Ruth and Courtney Ford, are actually married in real life. How sweet is that? That's everything we got for you guys today. What do you think of the list? And did you guys actually miss any of the things on it? Let us know in the comments if you spotted any exciting things while watching that we might have missed out on. Let us know if you want part 2 of this video as well, because we spotted a ton more stuff we couldn't cram into this one. Before you head off, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Do your heroic deed of the day and turn on notifications as well. We'll see you guys soon for another video. Ta-ta!